Hello, everyone. Welcome to Blue Devil Beat. I'm your host, Ranjan Jindal, here joined by my co-host, Caleb Dudley. Caleb, how are you, man?
I'm good. Good to be back.
Good. It's an exciting episode today because we also have Alex Min, one of our football beats here. Alex came all the way from California the past couple of days. Alex, how are you?
Good. Always happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you on. So today, because Alex is here, we're going to talk about Duke football's 45-21 win against Cal over in Berkeley to start 3-0 in the ACC. This episode later in the podcast, we're also going to be joined by two of our other fall beats, Myles Powicki and Jun Tan, to talk about volleyball and field hockey, respectively. But for now, we're going to start off with this football talk, which is going to be great. And yeah, excited for you guys to listen. But first, this podcast is brought to you by Duke Stores. Support your favorite Duke team. Duke Stores is home to the only collection of merchandise brought to you straight from Duke University. Go to shop.duke.edu for all of your Duke merch, including the hat Caleb is wearing right now.
Sir, recently stocked at Duke Stores.
So, back to the football, 45-21, like I mentioned, a big win for Duke football over in Cal. Alex, first of all, just how was the trip? How was the flight? How was Berkeley?
It was a big trip for sure, but once I got there, I mean, it was a packed stadium. It was a great environment. Another week, another game, a homecoming game for Duke football.
Yep.
So it was a great environment to be in.
Yeah, and Duke once again played spoiler to the homecoming crowd. Mentioned 45-21. Tell us some of your takeaways from the game. It was really a tale of two halves. Why did Duke win this game, you think?
Well, I mean, quarterback play, I think, dominated the first half. Sanga Pulutele, he was phenomenal. I mean, just from watching up in the press box, you could see these were really like high difficulty throws. He was threading the needle. And yeah, it got scary pretty fast. I mean, the Cal offense was flowing down the field and really looked like, especially after the Gompers ejection for targeting. And I mean, Trey Freeman having to go in a sling after that first drive. You don't really know who's going to be in that second level for the defense. And I mean, Mensa and the offense, they just responded right away. And I think that's what really kept Duke afloat throughout that entire game. Yeah.
So, Caleb, Alex alluded to it there. Bradley Gompers being ejected for targeting a linebacker, Trey Freeman, starting linebacker, one of the only ones, the starters who are remaining on the field because there are already two injuries to the starters. He gets injured. That really does thins out this linebacker core, but you had a couple people step in. What did you see from the defense when those key guys came out?
Yeah, obviously, I think I was watching the game from home, obviously, and the announcers were talking about like is even left on the roster to play linebacker, and Luke Morgott has been filling in for Nick Moore since he went down for the year with a knee injury, so he still had the green dot. Everything was fine there. And I thought he played well again. He's been solid since he's come into the lineup. But the replacement for Gompers and Freeman ended up being Elliott Shopper, true freshman. His first like real extended action. I thought he was spectacular. I don't think anyone, probably even the staff, expected him to be as good as he did filling in. He had 2 sacks. He had multiple tackles. He had an interception as well, I want to say. He was great. I think, honestly, once he got in the game, the defense started playing a lot better. I don't know if, it's probably not a causation, but I thought they really did look good. He's quick for a linebacker. I thought he really flew around. He got to JKS quite a bit in the backfield. So really impressed there. Obviously, they like to have the depth up, and hopefully the bye week will help in that department. But I thought for, filling in with 2 guys who were, I think, probably 5th and 6th on the depth chart to start the year, it's really impressive to do what they did on defense.
Yeah, I thought the Blue Devils did a lot better second quarter and on, getting pressure on Sanga Pulutele. We saw Ethan Teagard of the Daily Californian last week. He came on the pod and he was telling us about Sanga Pulutele's arm and how good it is. And we saw that arm talent on that first possession. He made some amazing throws into tight windows. But then you see Shopper and other guys like that get pressure on him. And he's young, so he throws some turnovers. Some turnovers, 3 interceptions from Sanga Pulutele. The defense really capitalized on that. I think Duke's turnover margin has been outstanding the past 3 games, and they've really flipped that on their head from the beginning of the season, so that really helped from the defensive end. Flipping over to the offensive side of things, it seems like Darian Mensah just keeps doing what he's doing. Alex, I'll start with you. What did you see from Mensah in the offense? And you can talk about the rushing attack too, but what did you see from the offense there?
I mean, I think his chemistry, especially with his receivers, is really starting to shine. Not just, I mean, we've talked about Cooper Barkate so much early in the season, but really his developing relationship with Keyshawn Brown really emerged as a deep threat. I think on Saturday, it just felt like every time Mensah looked downfield, it was Queso was there, always getting open, and the ball was always on the money. I feel like those chunk plays, I mean, that's what can drive an offense and turn it from kind of like methodical to lethal. So I think just to see that Mensa and his penchant for big plays, I think that's going to be huge going forward.
Yeah, I thought the first half especially, I think that's the best Mensa's looked as a Duke in a Duke uniform. Seemed like every single throw, like Alex said, was right over the hand of outstretched defender, or right exactly where the receiver needed it. Credit to Quayshawn Brown. I thought a lot of the catches he had in the first half were extremely contested and hard catches to make. He took a lot of contact in the first half, and he hauled it in every single time. So credit to him. Um, yeah, Mensa. I noticed this watching the game. I don't know, Alex. Maybe you saw some of this too. He seemed the most like fired up I've seen Mensa all year. The first half, especially, he'd come off the field, like you could see him jumping up and down, like fired up to make a good play. Obviously, he's from California, so I don't know if that plays a part there. Maybe he was just really in the zone and felt really good during the game, but thought he was great. The other thing with the offense, Ethan mentioned on the podcast that the O line or D line for Cal, they've struggled to stop the run. And I said, I thought Nate Shepard would have a big game. He had 12 for 92 and 2 touchdowns. The offense almost 5 yards a carry rushing. Obviously, that's really, really good if you can sustain that throughout an entire game. They did that. Shepard had 91. Jacquez Moore had 56. And Anderson Castle had only 28, but 2 touchdowns in the red zone. So I thought the offense continues to, be dynamic in the rushing and the passing attack. And if, they can rush for 5 yards a carry every game with those guys they have, that's a recipe for some good success.
Yeah, it feels like every time in the red zone, you just give the ball to Anderson Castle, see what he does. He'll get a first down, 3rd and short, it's Anderson Castle time, and you really have a great versatility across that running back room. Alex, was there anything in the post-game press conferences from either Manny Diaz or the players that spoke, was it Quayshawn Brown and someone else as well, that you thought was enlightening or particularly important for this game?
Well, I just wanted to give quick mention to, it was a homecoming game sort of for Cooper Barquet and Darian Mensa, but also Elliot Chopper. A lot of family and friends in the stands. So I'm really happy for him that, he got to have his moment in front of all his people. I think, Wesley Williams just gave a big shout out to Mensa talking about, the defense was starting to figure it out at the beginning. But when they have, Darian Mensa on the other side, keeping them afloat, it makes a world difference for them. Just to know that, they don't have, even if, they're not going right away, it's okay. They can calm down. They can have that time. And yeah, Manny really talked about, after the game, just getting pressure on JKS. He spoke pretty extensively about they did not fear the Cal run game at all. So it was just about getting to the quarterback, forcing him to make mistakes. He's 19. He's got a lot to learn still, but obviously a phenomenal cornerback. So yeah, it sounded like they were staying pretty calm and level-headed, even down 14 points in that first quarter.
Caleb, I'm curious your take. I know we talked about, or I gave my thoughts on what changed for the defense there. What did you see? Why do you think the defense played so much better against JKS? Because I know, throughout the early part of the season, there has been some slow starts, especially from this defense. We were down in Tulane and saw Jake Rutzloff make this team look pretty silly on defense. What do you think changed, and how can Duke build on that second half moving forward?
Yeah, I think a big part of that, and what Alex just kind of alluded to from Packy, was if you don't have a run game, it's really easy for the defense to pin their ears back, especially when you have a D-line as talented as Duke's. I thought Wesley Williams, BJ Anthony, and Aaron Hall, they all had a sack plus in this game, and I thought, at a lot of times Duke would only rush 3, and that's all they needed because they weren't worried about, them running the ball up the middle and hitting it for a big gain. So I thought having those 3 guys, just to set the tone on defense is really impressive. All 3 of them are talented pass rushers. And so I thought, if you know you can't run the ball, so you have to throw the ball, and all of a sudden you see 8 guys dropped into coverage every single play, that's really tough for a freshman quarterback, especially because Duke, loves to mix up how they show their coverages and the things they do. Their pack is very aggressive in that regard. So I thought for JKS it was a tough matchup. I thought the receivers made some really good plays, honestly, early. I thought Tron Grizel especially was really, really impressive to me. He's 6'4". He had a lot of contested catches he brought down in that game, but for Duke to be able to generate that kind of pressure with just 3 guys rushing is huge.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, any other stats or any important things that you guys want to talk about for this game?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the coaching staff and how they prepared to play this nighttime game.
Yeah.
After the game, these players, they didn't. Obviously they had just played 60 minutes of football, but they did not seem tired at all. Maybe there was the adrenaline pumping from the locker room or something like that, but they just kept asking, what time is it? It does not feel like that time. What time is it back in North Carolina? It's 2 a.m. supposed to be. They didn't feel like that at all. So clearly whatever preparation the coaching staff implemented into the preparing for this game, it really paid off.
And shout out to you, Alex, for writing that gamer in the wee hours of the morning over in North Carolina time with only 1 day to prepare. Good stuff. So everyone check out Alex's gamer on DukeChronicle.com. I guess while we're here, because we're not going to do an episode next week, but Duke has a bye week this week and is going to face Georgia Tech in what is the biggest game of the season thus far. Obviously, Duke now controls its own destiny for whatever it wants to achieve for the rest of the season, and that really starts with Georgia Tech, a team who's one of the best in the ACC and has a relatively favorable schedule moving forward. So if Duke is looking at teams to possibly compete for a spot in the ACC championship, Georgia Tech is one. Parents Weekend, noon game just got announced this afternoon at home. Talk about this game a little bit, guys. Caleb, I'll start with you. What do you think Duke has to do to defeat the Yellow Jackets, and what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I had Georgia Tech in my preseason ballot as second in the ACC, making the ACC championship. I think they're in a good spot. Again, a lot of that was due to the schedule, like you mentioned, but again, they still have Haynes King, and he's extremely dynamic on offense. Him and Jamal Haynes are a great pairing in the backfield. I just think we've seen all year Duke's had a hard time stopping quarterbacks that can move, and I think King will be the ultimate test in that regard. I do think obviously Duke's improved on defense throughout the season. But I do think, he's going to be extremely tough. He's hard to bring down. He takes a lot of hits and gets right back up and makes good plays. They have a strong defense again. Under Brent Key, Kyle Efford leads that charge at linebacker. He's really, really good. So I think it's good for Duke, good timing for them. They've, had to go from Syracuse to Cal now, and they've kind of sustained a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. I think this week will be huge for health-wise. Maybe have the return of Terry Moore coming against Georgia Tech. Kendall Johnson hopefully will be back as well. Trey Freeman, I think we haven't heard about his status, but maybe return as well. So I think for Duke to have that rest and, get all its horses back on defense will be huge to stop a really dynamic Yellow Jacket offense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, Georgia Tech is the 13th ranked team in the nation right now, but I mean, they looked very mortal against Wake Forest. You can debate what happened about at the end over there. But yeah, I mean, Duke offense has been great early in games, getting out to quick starts. I think you just would love to see that to continue, especially, against a really dynamic quarterback like Haynes King. I think that's going to be important to keep the pace.
Yeah, you mentioned that Wake Forest game, and you're right. They didn't look great there, and especially Kyle Effort's great, but stopping the run, Robbie Ashworth and Damon Claiborne were both really explosive on the ground against Georgia Tech, and I think that's an area that Duke can exploit for sure. I mean, even Clemson, when Georgia Tech played Clemson, the Tigers moved down the field a lot for an offense that has been struggling this year. So I think there are points to be had for Duke, and it's a matter of, can you get enough stops to win the game? And I think, honestly, I would slightly favor Duke right now. We might talk about predictions later, but yeah, I would slightly favor the Blue Devils, and I think it'll come down to finishing in the red zone, doing the things on offense and making sure you can get maybe one or two stops down the stretch to win the game. I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing for Duke, honestly, has been the turnover margin has been so good recently, and Mintz has really done a better job protecting the ball since that Illinois game, and honestly Tulane game where he just struggled at times. I think was a little bit sped up, and so I think if the offense doesn't turn the ball over, it's going to be really hard for teams to outscore Duke just because the offense has done a really good job finishing recently. But yeah, I think obviously the Georgia Tech game is huge. I don't know if it's too early to talk about chances at the ACC. I know ESPN has Duke second highest odds to make the ACC championship now at 18%, which isn't a lot, but for ACC that's pretty congested right now. Being second is not not bad at all behind Miami, who's a pretty heavy favorite to make it. So yeah, I mean this is the start of a crucial 3-game stretch in the ACC with Georgia Tech, Clemson, and Virginia.
Yeah, who would have thought Duke and Virginia, second and third in ACC.
Well, first and second right now in the record too. So they're
both
3-0. If you would, So really surprising there. Obviously they'll play in November. That'll be a monster game too. But Duke does get Georgia Tech and Virginia at home. And now a road game against Clemson looks much more manageable. So yeah, definitely a chance.
Yeah, and I just double checked. Georgia Tech is last in the ACC in rush defense. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad.
There we go.
So
Nate Shepard,
Anderson Castle, Jocko Moore, get ready. No, but obviously probably second in rush offense. So
yeah.
It'll be important for that. But it's going to be an exciting game. Parents Weekend will be here. The crowd theoretically should be packed in Willis Wade Stadium. You never know. But yeah. All right. Well, definitely check out Alex's stuff, Caleb's stuff, all our stuff on DukeChronicle.com. We will be right back to talk with with Myles and Jun to talk about field hockey and volleyball. Welcome back, everyone, to Blue Devil Beat. Now that we're at the bye point for football, we're excited to be joined by some of our fall beats to recap the season thus far and talk about their respective sports seasons. We're super excited to be joined by Jun Tan, our field hockey beat, and Myles Powicki, one of our volleyball beats. Thank you guys for joining us today.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, absolutely, Ranjan.
So let's start out with field hockey, and then we'll talk about volleyball. Jun, field hockey so far this season at 7-4, and as we were recording, just coming off a 5-0 win against James Madison. Could you talk about just kind of a recap of the season so far for this team under Pam Buston's tenure and what they've done so far this year?
I think this team has been really good this season. Obviously, 7-4 doesn't look too great on paper, but just look at the ability of the opponents that we have faced. Like, we've played like 5 of them, which are ranked in the top 20. And then I think the fact that we had a really solid defense in pretty much every game we've played this season just is a testament to show that this team can really go far.
Great. At this point in the season, it's obviously been a couple games now. If you had to pick an MVP for this team, who would you pick? And then maybe give us your reasoning behind that.
Ooh, there's quite a lot of good players this year, but obviously it's field hockey. You had to go with Elena McVeigh, right? She has scored 7 goals, 4 assists. That's put her on the top of the tallies for like all the players on the team right now, and she has been phenomenal for the past 3 years, and she continues to produce more goals and assists for us, and I think she is crucial to this team's success.
Elena McVeigh, recent Blue Devil of the Week recipient there.
Yeah.
As far as the team as a whole, any particular strengths or weaknesses that you've seen from this group, and if there are weaknesses, how do you think Duke can improve on them as the second half of this regular season is coming soon?
Absolutely. So strength, as I said earlier, the defensive unit, it's just absolutely great this year. Like, we have 5 shutouts this entire season. Not to mention the fact that, like, against top opponents, we've only allowed in 1 goal. So the 4 games we've lost, 3 of them were against like top 5 ranked teams, and we've only allowed them to score 1 goal, which is unfortunate, but still just to show that we are very solid at the back. Furthermore, you can just take a look at some of the amazing feats we've achieved for the past few games, in particular, like against UVA, for example, we were able to hold them goalless for the entire 70 minutes, which is like past extra time. And also in that same game, we didn't allow them to take a single shot for the first 50 minutes, which is just insane.
Wow. Obviously, we're past the halfway point, just barely of the season. But can you just tell us about some upcoming games that are big on Duke's schedule if they want to make a good seeding push down the stretch?
We've got some really tough games coming up. Louisville, obviously, is a ranked team that we play next week, Friday. And then Wake Forest is another home game that we need to win because they, again, are ranked and quite good at field hockey. And then, obviously, we will end the season with our nemesis in North Carolina that we will try and attempt to beat them for the first time in a long time.
And, the season so far, Duke has been pretty battle-tested, obviously playing against some of the top competition in the country. Northwestern, a close 1-0 loss, defeating Maryland, who was number 4 at the time. 2 years ago, this team went to the Final Four, one of its best runs in Pam Buston's tenure so far. What is it going to take for Duke to go back that far? Do you think Duke has the potential to go to the Final Four and maybe further this year? And if you think they do, what needs to happen for Duke to get there?
Yes, absolutely. So I think we do have a very good chance of getting to the Natty finals. In particularly, we got to rely on that solid defense to keep our shots and all that. But I think one thing we need to improve on is our offensive output. Although Elena McVeigh and then our sophomore Julia Buringer has been like our central attackers, producing all the goals and assists this season, we need to distribute that a bit more and let other players to take shots and potentially produce more output through that. So we won't lose like another game just by a goal. We can score more on our half, and so that'll be great. And then I think just keep on being on resilience. We have a very balanced team this year. Like, our goalkeeper's also been pretty amazing, putting up 5 saves in one of the games, I think, against Virginia. So that's really been good. If we keep on playing as well as we have done for the past few games, we should be able to make it far in the tournament. Obviously, another thing we struggled with early in the season was like set pieces, so like penalty corners, for example. We weren't able to convert on that, especially in the Northwestern game where we did 6 of them and did not produce a goal from each of them. I think we do much better on penalty corners this year for the later games, and then obviously if we score more from those in future games, we should be good.
Well, there you have it. And this Friday, like you mentioned, Duke's going to take on Louisville at Jack Hat Stadium. For those of you who are still here on campus for fall break, if you're students, pull up to East Campus there for the 6 p.m. start on October 10th this Friday. And then looking further down the road, there's a few road matchups, but Duke will end the season with a couple home games against Wake Forest on the 24th and against Old Dominion on the 26th. And then it's postseason time pretty soon. So a lot of excitement around this program, and they're certainly headed in the right direction. June, thank you so much for that fantastic analysis from you. All right, let's turn things over to volleyball here. We have Myles with us here. So same question that we asked June. Recap of the season so far. I know it's been a little bit more of a difficult start for volleyball, but what have you seen from this team so far this year?
I mean, when I'm looking at this, the volleyball team this season, it's everything that I've seen has really screamed young team, which it is. Ngazi Elo is the only senior or even upperclassman who's seeing really consistent minutes, and I think that's showing on the court. With there's the season kind of started off for the team a lot slower, but you can tell that the cohesiveness has been building on the court for the past couple of weeks. But getting into ACC play is it's pretty tough. So, I mean, in terms of results, the results haven't exactly been there. Team hasn't been able to string together a pair of wins yet this season, but there has been kind of consistent growth over the course of the season that is unfortunately going to be probably. It won't be reflected in the record because of just the brutal nature of the ACC, but the growth is real.
Gotcha. A recent win was over in-state rival NC State. Just talk about that game and what Duke did well to eke out a win there.
Yeah, I mean that was probably the signature win of the season so far for this team. I mean that's a solid side from NC State. They took a set off at UNC last week. Number 25 UNC right now, I believe. So taking a set off a ranked team is a hard thing to do in college volleyball, especially in the ACC. And NC State's having a good season, but what gave Duke really the keys to success against NC State there was just starting out strong, really blitzing the Wolfpack, and I mean the Wolfpack was able to fight back in a number of the sets because that's what good volleyball teams do. But Duke was able to put them away at the end, and it was a great game from Ashby Zubcevic, the really standout freshman. I believe she had 21 kills in the 4-set victory. She had a kill to seal set one and to take a crucial 24-21 lead in the final decisive set. So yeah, she had a couple of big moments over the course of the game, and just big play from the young stars after taking strong early leads was a really key to success there.
And that was the first game of the ACC slate there. Since then, Duke's lost 3, 1 to Wake Forest, 3-1, and then back-to-back games against 25th ranked North Carolina, both 3-0 sweeps, and that puts Duke at 4-11 overall, 1-3 in conference play. When you look at those last 3 losses, or just kind of the losses throughout the season, do you see it more as kind of just being overmatched by the star power of these other ACC foes, or were there some self-inflicted wounds that Duke made that caused the Blue Devils to be on the wrong side of those contests?
I don't really see it as exactly self-inflicted, but I just think that they just haven't been able to play with some of the horses of the ACC. I mean, of those horses, Wake Forest is not one. They're not one of the top flight teams, but North Carolina certainly is. And yeah, it's a lot of it. I mean, volleyball games are won at the net. Kind of in the backcourt, Mylan Godshaw has been a really standout player for the team this year, leading the ACC in digs, but she's kind of had to do so because the ball has been getting past the block a lot. This is a team that's allowed the second highest hitting percentage in the ACC behind Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech's put together a really nice season on the other aspects of the ball, so that's kind of made up for that. I think that they received votes, but it's a lot of it's happened at the net. The blocking group is especially young. 2 freshmen in Zoe, Gillen Malvo and Olivia Wayne have seen a lot of time up there, and well, they're both very talented players. And yeah, it's just hard to play college volleyball, and they're in the ACC especially. You're going up against players who have been facing a daunting schedule year after year. So that type of adjustment is where it's happening. So that's kind of the story of what's been happening with those recent games, especially.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple names so far that have stood out for Duke. If you had to pick one to be the most valuable player at this point in the season, who would you pick? And then just run us through your reasoning why.
I think it's a tight contest between Zubcevic, who I mentioned, and Taylor Williams, the standout sophomore. I think I'm going to be going to the Williams here just because she's put together a really consistent play over the course of the year. Williams leading the team in kills by just a few over Zubcevic, but a couple fewer errors. And what kind of has stood out to me with Williams, also, she's just incredibly consistent over all aspects of the game. She's been great in serve receive, as many aces as she has errors. So yeah, she's earned us earning the team a bunch of points at the service line. She's leading the team in kills. She's just doing everything well for Coach Jolene Nagel's team. So I would have to go with Taylor Williams for MVP of the season so far.
Yeah. You mentioned obviously Duke's record's not great, but what are some things you think they can build on the rest of the year? Maybe some weaknesses that you've seen that you hope they can improve on as the season comes down to the final stretch.
I mean, fortunately for the team, I think that they're going to improve at everything over the course of the year. I mean, obviously that's how it happens with every team. Every team, I would say most every team's better at the end of the season than they are at the start, I think. But I think that that kind of change and growth for this team is going to be much more significant than other. Just because, I mean, they're going to be battle tested. They're going to to answer the question before I kind of go on a rant, I think that the best way that they're going to get better is just by playing the games. Like the starting lineup just does not have a lot of college volleyball games under their belt, and I think it shows in nerves in some key moments. I mean, we'll always see that with young teams, that the big moments can be kind of too big for them sometimes, and there have been some flashes of that. But when you're looking at a win against NC State, that was a close game against a good team, and this team came through in the big moments. So just getting into games, making them competitive. Williams and Zubcevic will have outstanding nights at the net. They've grown a lot of chemistry with another freshman, setter Charlotte Glass. She's been very solid for the team so far this year as well. So I think just playing the games is going to be how this team gets better. And in probably 2 years, Williams' senior season, Zubcevic Glass's sophomore or junior year, Gottschall will be a senior as well. This team will be in the upper tier of the ACC for certain.
There you have it right there. That's something to look forward to for sure. And there's a lot of games in the volleyball regular season. We still have a dozen plus games for the Blue Devils. Are there any that you're maybe circling in particular that could be spots for a win or a marquee opponent or anything like that as you look at the back half of the schedule for the Blue Devils?
I'm seeing this upcoming schedule. Georgia Tech's going to be a tough game. Like I mentioned, they received votes in the last poll. They're just a good team over there, or I guess down there you could say. Clemson's going to be a winnable game. I think Clemson and Syracuse could be. I'm honestly, cards on the table. I'm not really sure about how well Boston College has been playing this year, but I think Clemson and Syracuse is this team's best shot for the rest of the year to string together a couple wins. Not going to be happening against Louisville, so the winning streak would not extend more than 3 if Boston College is a beatable opponent. But yeah, that's where I'm kind of looking at. Virginia Tech's not going to be one of the best teams in the conference, especially a home win. That's a winnable game, but yeah, I think there's some pockets, but like I mentioned, the ACC is, for my money, the best college volleyball conference in the country. And yeah, they're going to be playing. It's a tough schedule, but they'll know how to go through it next year, and that'll mean a lot. That'll mean a lot.
Yeah, and like Myles mentioned, there's a little bit of a road trip to start right now. So Georgia Tech, Clemson, Syracuse, and Boston College are all on the road. But Duke students/fans, if you're looking to see this team play in Cameron Indoor Stadium, the next opportunity is October 24th against Louisville. And then you have a 4-game home stretch with Notre Dame, Pitt, and SMU. Some great volleyball teams coming to Cameron Indoor. So definitely pull up and support this team as well, and read both Jun and Myles' coverage of both of these teams. They do an amazing job at DukeChronicle.com, along with our other beats for these teams. Caleb, why don't you run us through the other fall sports to close out this episode?
Yeah, I'll start with the soccers. Men's soccer's having another strong season. They're up to number 9 now in the rankings. This past week they beat Averett 10-0. Against, I think they're D3. So a big win there against a lesser opponent. Then another win against Pitt of this past Friday. So a big win there.
Undefeated, right, on the year? Duke.
They have not.
Soccer. They have not lost
outright. Yeah, they've
tied.
They've tied. Yeah. No loss. Right. So strong season there for Duke, and then women's soccer on the other side. It's been a little more tumultuous. Recently, back-to-back losses in ACC play to Notre Dame and Wake Forest. But they bounced back this past week against Pitt with a win. They're up to 2-3 in the ACC now and 15th in the RPI. It's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle for them to make the conference tournament because not everybody makes it. But still another, relatively strong season. They still have a really good roster, so the potential is definitely there for them. Then moving into the golfs, women's golf, they tied for first this past week at the Windy City Collegiate Classic. I think Coach Dan Brooks has now won a event or tied for a win in like 40 of 42 seasons, which is crazy. Anna Cañado Espinal and Andy Smith both finished in the top 6 in that tournament, so really good showing there for the Blue Devils in their fall preseason warm-up. And then men's golf on the other side, Brian Kim, men's golfer, he won the Brian Bros Collegiate down in Columbia, hosted by South Carolina. So in that match, he also tied the Duke scoring record for 54 holes. So it's been a really strong fall for Kim. Hopefully he can continue that into the spring. Swim and dive got started this week. Winter sports now. We're moving into that. Swim and dive. Men's and women's both started 2-0. They had a 4-team meet with Marymount, Boston College, and East Carolina. So the men's and women's team both started 2-0 there. So a strong start for the swimmers and the divers.
And not to be outdone, 2 more sports, women's tennis and men's tennis, have kicked off their fall tennis seasons. Fall tennis over the past couple of years looks a little bit different now that the individual singles and doubles championships are moved from May to November. So there's chances to qualify and finish out your individual season in the fall. And somebody did just that for the women's tennis team. Arena Balus qualified for the NCAA singles individual championships a couple weekends ago at the ITA region or All-American Championships in Cary, a little home placement there for her. And she went through a gauntlet of a schedule and defeated some very quality opponents, and she'll get a chance to play against the best singles players in the world in November. So great job there for Marina, and some other women's tennis players will get a chance to qualify at later events as well. On the men's side, they only sent 3 players to All-Americans, and so nobody qualified there, but there's a couple of the men's players who are doing some professional tennis at the moment. So there's a bright future for both of these teams. They have some very good young talent and deep rosters as well. So excited for the tennises, and golf seemed like doing well. And with winter sports starting, we just came from countdown to craziness too.
Yep.
Any thoughts from countdown? Were you guys at countdown?
I was not able to make it.
I was front row.
You were front row.
Had a great time, and then the special guest in terms of Jason Tatum came in back. So exciting.
Yeah.
I was sad to miss that as a Celtics fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is Jason Tatum going to do? What is the what did he call it?
He says, so Coach Shire said that
About the
Tatum, if you weren't there at Countdown or somehow didn't see this, Coach Shire went through and they had all the player introductions, and at the end, he's like, there's one more guy we want to introduce. You guys probably know him. He's going to help out the team this year. And out comes Jason Tatum. And there was no availability after Countdown, so the role was unclear. I wouldn't imagine it's too much because, he obviously is recovering from an Achilles injury, but he is, still working to play in this upcoming NBA season. So we'll see, I guess. I mean, at the very least, he's a great recruiting assistant at that, if that's what they want to use, and people come to campus and he can meet them. And Duke did have 2 huge recruits come on campus this weekend, and Jordan Smith and Cam Williams. So, but we'll see. It was regardless, it was really cool to see Tatum come back and still, after a while, still have a lot of love for the program and Coach Shire. So, fun time at Countdown, yeah.
Yeah, basketball season's coming up, and we'll do our full comprehensive basketball preview in a couple weeks. We're going to take next week off as we are on fall break, but we'll be back the week after that to recap Duke football's contest against Georgia Tech and then also talk some basketball. Super excited for that. Thank you, Myles, June, for joining us. You guys did phenomenal.
Thank you guys so much for having us. It's
Yeah.
an honor to be
great
on.
time and a great pleasure.
And thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you have a great next 2 weeks. If you're a Duke football fan, enjoy the week of rest. If you're Duke football players, rest up. A lot of cross-country road trip there, and we will see you guys in the middle of October. For Caleb Dudley, I'm Ranjan Jindal. This has been Blue Devil Beat.